Okay, welcome to Unidentified with Lyndall Kay. What we're doing is, and Sandra Smith, and what we're doing is, Lyndall is very interested in unidentified bodies. There are lots of them in North Carolina.
That sounds weird.
Well, no, I mean, you do have an interest like you do in cold cases.
Yeah, there's around 125 bodies that have been found since the 60s here in North Carolina that we don't know who they are.
Yeah, you don't know who they are.
So every one of those is a missing person, and then a lot of them are also homicide cases.
And they all have families, but I've really learned a lot, because I've learned that a lot of these people never had anybody that ever even called about them and said, right, I have a loved one missing.
That's probably going to be the case today, too.
That's really weird to me.
Yeah, and so that's what we're trying to do here is a lot of these cases have been in the news media once.
Right.
If at all. So what we want to do is we're trying to build, between the newspapers that I work for and WHIG, we're trying to build a searchable database for people with missing family can finally be able to Google certain elements that they know about their missing loved one and come up with some of these cases. Right. I've already had a lot of phone calls, people trying to figure out if some of the cases we've covered so far is their loved ones. I've directed them to law enforcement. Yeah, absolutely. Some of them we'll be talking about. Some of them, there was one case that I don't want to get into it yet, but I mean there was one case that looked like it was gonna happen, and then turns out that the DNA didn't match, but everything else did. You know, so you don't know, right? I mean, and this person didn't know. This person didn't know about any of this until we started talking about it. So I mean, that's the whole goal here.
That's the good and positive about us doing this.
All right, so we're going to start with a map. I got to put my eyeballs on. That is Millbrook Road up top up there. Millbrook Road in Raleigh. You know where that's at?
I know where Millbrook Road is. Yes.
So this poor gentleman right here, this homeless man, was found in the woods on that map in 2015.
Wow.
That is a forensic. What they do is they take his skull, then they put putty on it and all that, and try to build up what they think that he looked like, and then they take 3D images of it. So that's a forensic, what they call a forensic rendering of what this gentleman, what they think he looked like. All right, so local media has always reported this as being that he was found in the woods near a kidney care facility off of Millbrook Road. I mean, that's any time that they've talked about it, which is only 2 or 3 times, but when they do talk about it, they talk about it being on Millbrook Road. Well, I mean, the reason that they say that is because when the call came in originally, it came in as Millbrook Road. Right. And then that's just kind of stuck. Right. But if we take another look at the map closer up, you'll see that there's a Walmart right next to that. See that kidney? It says Kidney Care Millbrook. There's a Walmart right there in those woods, right? So that Walmart's the one on Glenwood Avenue, right? So homeless folks, they stay close to food supplies. I mean, they're not driving, you know, they can't go very far. That's right. So they stay close to food supplies. So the reason that this guy was in the woods in the first place is because it's behind Walmart, not because it's behind the kidney place on Millbrook Avenue. Right? So Walmart was a significant thing. Walmart was a significant thing here, because I mean the dumpsters behind Walmart is where homeless people get their food, right? Sadly, but I mean that's and we'll get into how I know that in a minute. But there's also right across the street from the Walmart is this other really important thing to the homeless folks, the Wake County ABC store, right? So he's in those woods. See where it says like, well, see right between Walmart and ABC store, there's some woods up there and right between there. The kidney store is right in the middle of this map. I mean the kidney facility. So he's in those woods. He's got the food supply behind Walmart. He walked right across the street to the ABC store. He's got everything that he needs in life, right? Right there. So he's got food, he's got liquor. That's why there's a homeless camp there. Right. This guy was found in the homeless camp in the woods there, right? Okay. So, I mean, I know all of that through experience. a decade ago, I worked in Jacksonville for the Daily News down there, right? It's a few hours from here. You see Raleigh, see Rocky Mount, see Wilson. Jacksonville's down there on the beach.
Right.
Right, okay. So there was a Kmart on Piney Green Road. It was right down the road from the Camp Lejeune main gate, right? Kmart's closed now, I'm sure. I think all the Kmart's closed. But anyway, in the woods behind that Kmart was a huge homeless camp. I mean, there was probably 50 people there living there. And we started reporting on it because it was growing by the day. We started reporting on it.
Right.
And those homeless folks had a really good Christmas because everybody was donating to them. Even the sheriff's office would come by and give them stuff. I mean, it was, it was really good. But then they got so much media attention though that the person who owned the land back there said, "I don't want these people here anymore." So they cleared them all out and made them go somewhere else. And there was so one of those folks that lived there before they got moved out was killed. He was stabbed and beaten to death, I think in 2010. I can't remember exactly what it was. But I talked to his sister, and she said that she had been trying to get him to move in with her for years, and that he wouldn't live in the shelters because he had to follow certain rules. To live in a homeless shelter, you have to follow certain rules, and he didn't want to follow those rules. And he wouldn't move. He would move in with her for like a week maybe, and then he was gone again. And he lived in that place behind Kmart for years. And then he got in a fight over a girl or something, and then 3 guys actually went to prison for killing him. Right? But the thing was, the reason why I'm telling this whole story is that he chose to live outdoors. That's what he called. He called it living outside, living outdoors. I mean, you couldn't get him to live inside. That's just the way he wanted it, right? So, in the process of writing this story, I was doing some research and all that. Wake County has 30 homeless camps right now. So, ranging in size from 2 or 3 people to a lot of people, but all over Wake County right now, 30 homeless camps. So the Wake County commissioners, Board of Commissioners are trying to address this problem right now and figuring out what you can do. It sounds kind of heartless for me to say, but some of those folks don't want any help.
Right.
They're happy where they're at.
That's
now,
right.
Don't get me wrong. Now I hadn't intended to say this, but in 2003, I lost everybody. I was working at a bacon plant down at the beach in that area, and everybody lost their job. The place closed. 467 people without a job, right? And so it got really bad for us. We had to go live with my brother for a while. I lived in my brother's dining room with my wife and my 2 kids. So I was homeless, but it didn't last long.
Right.
I got another job. We got back on our feet. I'm here today. But some people, whether it's because of mental illness or drug addiction, or some people just prefer it, they're going to live outside, and there's not much you can do with them. And I was looking at trying to figure out how many homeless camps there are in Rocky Mount, and I couldn't pin down a number. But there are a lot of panhandlers. You see more and more at Walmart.
Oh, yes, you do.
Street corners and everything. And
do you think they're members of something? Do you think they have a boss? I do.
I think in
in my mind they have a boss.
I think in the bigger cities they do. In the much bigger cities.
I just feel like they're put out. You go here, you go here, you go here.
Well, they definitely work together.
Then they turn their money in.
They definitely work together. You can see. You can see them take turns with even the same sign. I've seen sometimes. Now the thing, there's signs posted in some cities that say, don't give to panhandlers, donate to charity or whatever. And that would be my advice, because if you give $5 to a guy on the street, he's gonna buy some Wild Irish Rose or whatever with it. That money's not going to, he might buy a cheeseburger. He might be hungry and buy a cheeseburger. Right. But ultimately, you're not really helping that guy any.
Well, I had a banana in my car. I told this story on the morning show. I had a banana in my car one morning, and I offered the guy at Winston, when you get off of 64 onto Winston, I held out my banana.
I went to Gold Corral, actually in the Piney Green where that Kmart was. I went with the sheriff of Onslow County one time to eat lunch, and there were 2 homeless people out front of their flying signs. And the sheriff said, "Hey, look, there's some trash down on the street right there. You go pick a little bit of that up and come back up here, and I'll buy you lunch and I'll give you $20. And they were like,
no,
they weren't interested in that.
It's always that way.
So again, I'm not knocking homeless people. I'm sure there's somebody that's going to be like, oh no, I can't. Some people are legitimately homeless. If you see a guy or a woman on the side of the road and they got 3 kids and they look rough,
yeah, right.
they're on hard times.
You have to kind of use your own judgment.
But if you see the guy that's on the side of the road that's been there and everything, and he's by himself and everything like that, I mean, they choose. That's the lifestyle that they choose.
That's the life they chose.
All right. So there's no apparent signs of foul play in this guy's death, right? And they don't believe he was a victim of a crime. He was simply a homeless guy that maybe froze to death in those woods that night. So he's between 50 and 70 years old, and he had blue jeans, blue and white boxer shorts, black socks, and he had on some slip-on shoes. Now the best clue I think in identifying who this guy is that in his pants pocket he had a key ring, and he had some keys on it. One of them was for a General Motors vehicle. Now, he may have just picked those up on the side of the road for all we know. We don't know what that really means, but I mean it's something.
Right. It's definitely something.
So his DNA and his dental records are available to match, and anyone who thinks that they might know who this is, or they might have a family member that's been homeless and matches that picture. Can you put that picture up one more time, Brittany? The picture of the homeless man. So I mean, if you know somebody who looks like that and you don't know where they're at, or you have a homeless family member that looks similar to that, again, keep in mind with these pictures, there's no way to know how the hair would have looked.
Right.
He could have combed it this way or that way. I mean, these are all guesstimations based on the skeleton they found. So, but if you know anybody that looks like that, Raleigh Police Department number is 919-834-4357, and then our tip line is on the thing there. This guy, whether he chose to live in the woods or not, he was somebody's son.
That's right.
He could have been someone's father or brother as well, but we know for sure that he was somebody's son.
That's right.
So, and regardless of whatever circumstances got him there, and like I said, they don't believe foul play was involved, but still, it's a missing persons case somewhere.
That's right.
So, folks, if you think you might know who this gentleman is, give those phone numbers a call. Again, Raleigh Police Department, 919-834-4357. The tip line's on the screen. I think, out of these 120 or so bodies that we're talking about, going to be talking about over the next 2 years, a lot of them are homeless people who probably weren't the victims of violent crime, but they still deserve to be identified.
That's right.
The family still deserve to know what happened to them. We kicked off the show to talk about in Halifax County there was a woman that was found on the railroad tracks several years ago, and that was part of the process. I was going to include that story, but then I found out that she was identified, and the family in Richmond were told that what had happened to her. So the family at least got that closure from that deal. So that's what we're trying to do here. So anyway, folks, that's unidentified for the day. Next week we're going to talk about a poor lady that was murdered in Charlotte. So I think this woman can be identified based on all the information that's out there. So we'll talk about that next week.
Okay. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you. Thank you, Lyndall.